Happy Tuesday, Miami Dolphins fans. Hopefully everybody is ready to talk some Dolphins football because even in the dead portion of the early offseason in mid-February, Miami is providing us with a lot to discuss and a lot to dive into. Monday, President's Day, we had a lot of action. The Miami Dolphins announced that they will be parting ways with Bradley Chubb. That has not yet become finalized, so we do not know how Miami is moving on from Chubb. They could ultimately find a trade partner, although I doubt it. We can also go out and see if he's released post-June 1 designation, pre-June 1 designation, but Miami did make 3 cuts finalized yesterday, the other 3 being Tyreek Hill, Nic Westbrook-Ikhine, and James Daniels. So 2 to that wide receiver room. We obviously knew Tyreek Hill was expected. $52 million cap hit, was never staying on the roster with a new regime. Miami saves $22.8 million in cap savings with that pre-June 1 release. They cut Nic Westbrook-Ikhine, save about $1.5 million with that pre-June 1 release. And then one that was a little bit of a surprise, although it seemed it was heading this way, is the offensive guard James Daniels. You actually lose cap space by releasing him pre-June 1st. Your cap bill goes up by about $1 million. So NWI and James Daniels basically cross each other out. But this new regime didn't pay Daniels. There's been some rumors out there that Daniels allegedly told the Dolphins he didn't want to play in the final 6 weeks of the season, even though that the regime that was previous here, coaching staff, believed he was healthy enough to play. Odd situation there, so Miami ultimately wiped their hands clean. But with all of that busy stuff, we have to talk about who can replace Bradley Chubb, who could replace Tyreek Hill. We also got some other free agents to mention, as well as an ESPN report about Malik Willis and Miami. But shout out your city for me down in the comments section. Where are the real ones watching from? And then we'll get to Josh Schultz's super chat here in a second. But welcome in, producer Coop. How you doing, Coop?
I'm great. You had a very busy day on the golf course yesterday.
Listen, had to make 2 videos, 2 shorts.
Yep.
While I was in the middle of playing 18 holes. A lot of people actually cracked me up in our comments on our videos as well as our YouTube shorts asking me how I played. And hand up accountability.
How did you play?
It was the worst round I've played in a year.
Really? It was bad.
It was bad. It's a bad round. I'm about a 7 or 8 handicap, depending on what I'm playing, for those golf people out there. Yesterday, I shot a 16 over 88. It was pretty bad.
Oh, that is not good for you. I mean, that'd be great for me. But that is not,
Really bad round.
That's below Rolly standards.
Could have been very much because my mind was thinking about the Dolphins and I was all over the place.
No doubt.
Especially on that front 9. But I just didn't have my ace wing. I didn't have my stuff. Really nothing was going my way.
No Dolphins content yesterday? Are you shooting sub 85?
I say yes. I like to think that if my mind wasn't like in 2 different places and I could have locked in further, because there was a span in that middle, like holes 4 through 8, where I just was all over the place. So, yeah, I think that could have been a definite factor. But shout out to all the real ones in the building. Carson in New Jersey, Jeanette in Miami, Florida, Dustin in Portsmouth, Ohio, London and Miami, Brockport, New York for Nancy Marks in the hometown 585 for me, Ashland, Ohio for Adam. We got Lakewood, New Jersey, Junction City, Kansas, Josh in Fort Meade, Florida. Speaking of Josh, here's a $5 super chat from Schultz. Shout out to Josh Schultz. Hey, have y'all looked at quarterback Joe Fagnano, the Italian? Kid looks good. Listen, Fagnano's an intriguing guy. He played 4 years at Maine and then 3 years at UConn. So this guy has been in college for 7 years, literally was a sophomore or a freshman in college when I was a sophomore, and I've been out of college for 3 years. So 3+ to be exact. So he's a little bit older.
You were 4 and done.
4 and done. Yep. Get me out of there. Fagnano's old. He has a little bit of an arm on him. Yep. I can't say I would be in on him. Maybe as a UDFA, Josh. I'll give you UDFA for Fagnano, but I don't think I would use a draft pick on him.
I like it.
Can't say I would do that. But he has put up pretty gaudy numbers at the collegiate level. I can't lie. All right. What were your one word? What was your one word reaction to all of the cuts yesterday? You see Tyreek, Bradley Chubb, NWI, James Daniels. One word reaction. Mine was
Don't take my word.
fire sale.
Oh, God.
Not fire sale. Cleaning house with a hyphen so it counts as one word.
It's our show. We can cheat.
Yeah, I can cheat.
Mine was expected.
Yeah, a couple of them were.
I mean, I feel like we've talked about all three of these guys as cut candidates, and maybe we weren't fully expecting Bradley Chubb to be cut. We knew Tyreek was going.
Yeah, I thought they would try to trade Bradley Chubb.
Yeah.
And since it's not official, maybe a team doesn't want to try to, test the waters of free agency and, trades a 6th or 7th round pick.
Not official.
It's possible.
We should know
there's a reason why the Bradley Chubb release hasn't been made official yet.
I do wonder as well if they're deciding between a post and a pre-June 1 cut.
Could be. And it's just already know, hey, we're cutting you. We don't know how yet.
Exactly.
Yeah, just decide that. John saying good. Variant saying good. Scott, awesome. Joffrey says amen. Mr. Django says rebuild. Variant says nice and good. Necessary from Nancy. Taryn says damn. Dang, they really did all that. We got Kevin saying damn as well. Enchanted. I don't understand why that would be the word to use there.
Yeah.
But, hey, everybody's got to choose a different word. Rebuild. Get rid of Tua. That's not one word. Beginning, bittersweet, flabbergasted, rebuild. Certainly all of the above. Like I said, my one word was cleaning house with a hyphen. That's one word, right?
Sure.
I actually don't know how that works. Is that considered one word?
Absolutely not.
I think it is.
No.
I think it is.
It's like a hyphenated last name. Is it one? I mean, I guess it is one last name.
You just proved my point. Uh-oh.
I like it.
Like Nick Westbrook-Ikhine.
Yeah.
His last name is Westbrook-Ikhine. It isn't.
But it's
it's not two words.
No, but it is considered a hyphenated last name.
I think if I consider,
I'll bend the rules. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I consider two words because there are two separate words joined by a hyphen. It's one word. It's one phrase.
Now, what about three words?
Oh, that's it. Now we're too far.
Let's for instance, out of touch, hyphenated, out hyphenated of hyphenated touch.
No. Because I forget, I'm not very good with the English language. That's why I went to get a journalism degree, and I still don't know. What would of be considered by itself? That's something.
Yeah.
And that word is also bringing out touch together.
Agreed.
So
yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah, I follow. Yeah, we're going off the deep end here. Hey, I got a cool announcement for all the real ones. How about this? We have started to get into the merch game a little bit here at Chat Sports, and Dolphins Today getting some merchandise here. St. Patrick's Day just around the corner, and if you want to get some Dolphins Today, Chat Sports, St. Patrick's t-shirts, well, go to chatsports.com/MIA green. You can get a black version. You can get a green version. All sizes that are available right now. I just put the link in the live chat. If you want to go rep Miami, Chat Sports, on St. Patrick's Day or anytime, go to chatsports.com/MIA green, and I'll offer a fun deal here for the real ones. Just here on the live show. Anyone who buys a Dolphins Today drinking team shirt, post the receipt, and tags me on Twitter. I know it's a lot, but if you do those three things, buy this shirt, post the receipt, and tag me on Twitter, you will have a show. Not a show, but maybe a portion of a show sponsored by you.
I like that.
For example, if Jeffrey Cooperstein bought a Miami drinking team shirt, if we were talking about Malik Willis, we would say this portion of today's Malik Willis show is brought to you by blank name, Jeffrey Cooperstein.
I like that.
So, hey, if you guys want to get some Dolphins Today gear, St. Patrick's Day just around the corner, I got mine. Go get yours, chatsports.com/MIA green. Appreciate everybody who supports the show here. Over 122 people watching. We do have a lot to talk about today. As we mentioned, who's replacing Tyreek Hill? who could Miami target in free agency in the draft? Same thing with Bradley Chubb at the edge room. We're going to talk about Malik Willis being linked to Miami once again from ESPN. And we'll also look at 5 potential cut candidates around the NFL that Miami could go out and sign. But we need to get some likes. Hit that thumbs up icon. We need to get to 55 to start today's show. We're at 42. So let's get to 55. We're 13 away. Hit that thumbs up icon. But Wasim Khan in the building with a 5. Appreciate you, Wasim. What up? The people that don't want Willis are nuts, LOL. How is Chubb compared to Trey Hendrickson? Wasim, it's not really even a question. Yeah, Trey Hendrickson is infinitely better. Now, what's funny is that if I told you Bradley Chubb was younger than Trey Hendrickson, I don't think you would have off dome believed me.
I would have.
Really?
Yeah.
I think Bradley Chubb's been so good for such a long time that people are like, oh, that guy's like 31, 32.
Yeah, and Hendrickson has really come onto the scene on the last 5 years or so.
Right, like he kind of came out of nowhere back in 21, 22.
Yes, but yeah, I did know that. I mean, Hendrickson is going to be, he'll be one of the, if not the top edge on the free agent, one of the on the market, and he's going to command a lot of money too. But yeah, I mean, Bradley Chubb as well, who did, 8.5 sacks last year?
8.5 sacks.
But it really didn't feel like he had great impact on the games. He kind of, I don't think is lucking into sacks the right word.
There could be a little bit. Yeah, there's a little bit luck. Like, say, I'm not saying this happened a lot, but like Jalen Phillips and Chop Robinson, whoever's opposite of Bradley Chubb, generates pressure on the quarterback, and the quarterback steps up in the pocket or gets flushed out towards Bradley Chubb, and Chubb just tracks him down. Like, that's not a sack created by Bradley Chubb, but he brought down the quarterback. So it's good that he took advantage of it, but he's not the one generating the pressure, but he gets credit for the sack.
Yeah, so I mean, I think both of them will have their suitors, but definitely Hendrickson is the better player.
Yeah, sure. Hendrickson's better. It's why Hendrickson's going to get 30 or close to 30 million. I say probably close to $30 million on free agency. Bradley Chubb. We'll ultimately see there.
Need 3 more likes.
But we do need 3 more likes to get today's show started. We are at 52. We need 55. As I mentioned just a quick second ago, on today's live show, we're looking at Tyreek Hill replacements. Who could Miami find in free agency or the draft to replace Tyreek's spot on the roster? Going to do the same thing for Bradley Chubb. Look at free agency. Look at the draft. Who could replace Bradley Chubb, as Miami desperately needs edge rushers. But we also got an ESPN bold prediction with Malik Willis and Miami, as well as some free agent targets that are not currently available but could be cut / released by other teams. Listen, Miami made 4 cuts, right? Bradley Chubb, Tyreek Hill, James Daniels, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine yesterday. Other teams are going to make cuts to save cap space across the next couple of weeks. We're looking at 5 players that could be cut that fit Miami perfectly. That is the way to describe that video.
I can't wait to show this wide receiver depth chart.
No, I don't want to show it. I don't want to show it. But anyway, let's get into the first segment on today's show, which is some wide receiver targets in the draft and free agency to replace Tyreek Hill. Coop, when you're ready, let's get this show underway. Miami officially released Tyreek Hill on Monday morning. In the wide receiver room in Miami, it's quite bare. So on today's show, I want to take a look at some free agent targets as well as some draft targets that Miami could target to help bolster this wide receiver room. Because as I noted, I'm not going to say it's the worst wide receiver room in the NFL, because Jalen Waddle is still very, very good, and he is capable of headlining a wide receiver room. But if you take away every team's best wide receiver and look at wide receivers 2 through the rest of the roster, that's where I will make the statement Miami's is the worst in the NFL. No offense to Malik Washington, the rest of the crew here, but this room is absolutely horrific. I like Malik Washington. I think he's a fun gadget guy. I think he's a very good special teams kick returner, punt returner. But in terms of actually being a threat to opposing defenses on offense, running routes down the football field, Miami just needs more. And it's not something new. Like, we knew Tyreek Hill was going to be gone, but now that it's official with him and Nic Westbrook-Ikhine gone, who was also released, Miami desperately needs to add wide receivers this offseason. Even though their offense is going to be that good with no quarterback in place, you still need to find wide receivers to have that quarterback, whoever is running the show, throw to, and we're going to take a look at some targets here in a second. But on Monday, we dropped multiple shorts and multiple videos while I was on the golf course taking advantage of a day off on President's Day. We will never, ever miss any piece of Dolphins news for you guys, no matter what I'm doing, which is why you subscribe and turn on notifications. Now, let's just call a spade here. When you're thinking about long-term Tyreek Hill replacements and answers in that wide receiver room, free agency isn't going to be the way Miami addresses that in 2026. Yes, you have all of this new cap space, but that got you from -17, -20 to in the positives by about $10 or $11 million. It's not like Miami is flush with cap space where they're going to go out and give George Pickens $30 million, Alec Pierce $25, Wan'Dale Robinson 15 or 16, Romeo Doubs 15 a year. Like, that's not going to happen. So when you look at the wide receiver room, it's not the best free agent list, especially with Alec Pierce and George Pickens potentially getting franchise tagged. I just can't imagine Miami goes into early March and says, yeah, we're going to hand out a big free agent contract at wide receiver. Like, if they did it, I think Romeo Doubs would be the most likely because of the familiarity between Jon-Eric, Sullivan, Jeff Hafley. But I don't think that's the best idea for the Dolphins because, yeah, wide receiver's a need, but so is corner. So is offensive line. So is edge. I would actually label those three positions more necessary for Miami. So if you're going to spend big in free agency on a position, you should look at either corner, edge, or offensive line, not wide receiver. So, with limited cap space, if you are going to add wide receivers in free agency, and Miami will at least add one, right? They're going to do it in some capacity. These are the 5 cheap wide receiver targets that I want to mention now, and I've mentioned in the past. Kendrick Bourne at 30, Tyquan Thornton, who's 25, a couple other young guys like Jalen Naylor, Traylon Burks, De'Ami Brown. These guys are all likely going to get one-year deals for $3 or $4 million at most. Maybe one of these guys would get a 2-year for $5 or 2 for $6 million contract. But if you're looking at smart wide receivers to target in the plan for Miami, if you're going in free agency, you need to take flyers on cheap young guys like Tyquan Thornton, former second-round pick who had decent production for Kansas City this past year. Traylon Burks, former first-round pick, who kind of picked it up a little bit in the last month and a half of the 2025 season for the Washington Commanders. Or guys like De'Ami Brown, who are still young but have had production 2 years ago in Washington. Jalen Naylor, who's been a solid wide receiver 3 with Minnesota the past couple of years. That's kind of how I want to address this position. And then when you want to add legit young talent to build this room out and kind of start building it up, well, that's where you look towards the NFL draft, where you have a lot of draft picks. And I'm going to continue to add this take that having 9 or in the top 90, having 5 picks is absolutely massive. Like, having the ability to move up, move back, and still have 5 picks inside the top 90 will allow Miami to add decent young talent at a lot of different positions. That's going to be huge for Miami. And coming up in just one bit, we're going to take a look at some draft targets at wide receiver in rounds 1, 2, and 3 in the top 90. But today's show is brought to you by Mars Men. Is there a time where you feel like you're losing it? Same workout, same diet, but you feel like you were moving through mud. One day you're crushing it. Next day you're wondering why everything feels twice as hard. Well, what if I told you there's a way to get back to having stronger physical performance? Mars Men is designed to help free lock testosterone so your body can actually use it. No synthetics, no needles, just real ingredients that help optimize energy, focus, and strength. I've got the package here. It's super sleek. It's very simple to use, and you will feel the difference. It's made in the USA, third-party tested, and there's a 90-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. You absolutely will love it, but if you don't, you can get your money back. Over 91% of users report higher energy levels. For a limited time, our listeners get 50% off for life, plus free shipping and 3 free gifts at mengotomars.com. It's a perfect way to kick off the new year strong. That's mengotomars.com for 50% off and 3 free gifts at checkout. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. You look at some first-round wide receiver targets for Miami, and I'm not suggesting it's the best way to address the position, but if you wanted to, at pick number 11, taking a wide receiver, it would likely be one of Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, or Makai Lemon. I really can't justify a different wide receiver with that 11th overall pick. And as we look at the 3 of these guys, it's very interesting because they all provide different skill sets and they would fulfill different roles on the Miami Dolphins. Makai Lemon is more of that inside wide receiver. I'm not saying he can't play outside, but when he ranks 16th percentile in height, 25th percentile in arm length, and his skill set prioritizes speed and route running in the middle of the field, yeah, I'm going to say he's more of a slot guy. Carnell Tate was more of that outside speedy wide receiver, 72nd percentile in height, 85th percentile in arm length. Then you look at Jordan Tyson, he's kind of a blend of both. Plays inside a ton, did it at Arizona State in back-to-back years, but also can play outside wide receiver as well with a solid physical profile at 6'1", 200 and a 32.2-inch arm length for him. And you look at the 3 prospects, and I could go on and on about these guys, but if you want to briefly look at the comparisons and what the 3 biggest strengths for each guy is, Jordan Tyson, to me, is the more complete wide receiver out of these guys. He's the more versatile guy. He was the best man coverage beater last season, 3.44 yards per route run against man coverage. The reason why he's so good, reliable hands. The release package at the line of scrimmage is crazy. You can't get your hands on him. If you try to press him, he will cook you. Tyson's a special wide receiver. Now looking at Carnell Tate, he's got good size. He's an elite athlete with high-end speed. Like, I can't wait to see what he runs at the 40-yard dash at that size. He also doesn't drop the ball. He has the best hands out of these 3. 68.8% contested catch rate a season ago as well. Just a dominant down-the-field wide receiver. And then, as I mentioned with Makai Lemon, route-running technician. He's really good with the ball in his hand. I was looking at his yards per route run and yak per catch. Let me want to refresh here, 6.8 yards per catch, after catch. That is second best in the class behind Zachariah Branch, who is an absolute electric player with the ball in his hands, his own right. And Makai Lemon also really good against zone coverage. You look at the top wide receivers, he is number 2 out of this draft class in zone yards per route run at 3.22. So Lemon is good with the ball in his hands, good finding the soft spots in the zone. All 3 of these guys bring different skill sets. All 3 would be very high-level young wide receivers that you'd like to add to your roster. But we also have other needs at edge, at offensive line, in the secondary. So, yeah, wide receiver's a need, but is it the biggest need for the first round of the draft? That's the biggest question. And I'll ask you, would you draft a wide receiver in round 1, type Y for yes, or type N for no? I mean, everybody's can choose their own different path, but if I'll be honest, I'm just best player available. Like, is it my favorite idea to go wide receiver at 11? No. But if all of your guys are off the board, like Sonny Styles is gone, David Bailey and Ruben Bain are gone, Francis Maui-Noah is gone, Spencer Fanu's gone, and you're deciding between either Mansour Delange or Mod McCoy or one of these wide receivers, I wouldn't complain if they went with a Jordan Tyson because I think he's going to be a no-doubt wide receiver 1 at the next level. Would I be a little bit if they went Makai Lemon? Yeah, maybe because, yeah, he's very good, but are you taking a potential slot receiver at 11? But, yes, you look at guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm not saying the 2 are the same, but, yeah, you would take Amon-Ra St. Brown at 11, right? So it's just a real tough decision. It's just all about who is the best player available on the board at that time. But if you wait till the second round, there are still a lot of good wide receivers out there. Like these 6 wide receivers all could go at the end of round 1 into round 2. Now, there are some wide receivers that are going late round 1, like a Casey Concepcion or a Denzel Boston that I'm not going to include on this list. But these 6 names are very intriguing. Like my favorite round 2 target on most big boards right now is going to be Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana. And there are some people that believe he could creep up into the end of round 1 by the time the draft rolls around in late April. We've talked about Cooper in the past. He's been mock draft to Miami from ESPN in round 2 before. Similar to Carnell Tate, he has elite hands, 4.2% career drop rate, but he's a high-level route runner that can play both inside and outside. Now, he does struggle with physicality, and he doesn't have the best physical profile, but you watch his tape and you watch what he has been able to do throughout his career at Indiana, and this guy looks like a very good wide receiver, too, in the NFL, which is what Miami obviously needs to complement Jalen Waddle. Someone can play inside and outside. If you're looking for a specific outside target at the wide receiver position, how about Chris Brazell from Tennessee? This guy's massive, 6'5", 200, good straight line speed. Now you wonder how diverse is his route tree. He also wasn't that good of a contested catch guy at Tennessee. His numbers were way lower than you would expect. Like when I was looking at it here, his contested catch rate last season, it was 41.7%, which obviously isn't very good for a player that you would think would be elite at it, being 6'5", 200. But he is someone that I think would complement this wide receiver room very, very well with Jalen Waddle and Malik Washington already on the roster. But I also mentioned earlier, you have 3 third-round picks, 75, 87, and 90. Well, there are some interesting round 3 wide receiver targets. Jeremy Bernard is a favorite of mine, but I really like Kevin Coleman Jr. out of Missouri, and I really like Bryce Lance out of North Dakota State University, and that name might sound familiar. He kind of looks like, it's Trey Lance's brother. He had over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns a year ago for North Dakota State. He's got good size at 6'3", 209. You look at his advanced numbers, though, last season for the Bison, a 3.6% touchdown rate, 61.5% contested catch rate, 24.1% target rate, and he had a career 3.07 yards per route run. So, yeah, it wasn't at the Power 4 level. Hell, it wasn't even at the FBS level. But this guy was dominating his competition at the FCS, at the best FCS program. I followed his brother's footsteps there. Lance is an interesting day 3 target potentially, but maybe even late round 3 where Miami has 3 picks that I'm keeping an eye on, and we're going to continue to have you covered throughout the entire pre-draft process. But these are some names I want Dolphins fans to keep an eye on as potential Tyreek Hill replacements long-term. If I was going to be honest, I would love to get Jordan Tyson in Miami because he's an absolute stud. We'll see if Miami takes a wide receiver at 11. It could push it off to the day 2 part of the NFL draft, but make sure you subscribe because we'll always have you covered. Oh, man. First segment down, Coop. Thoughts, comments, concerns?
Concerns? The wide receiver room. Major concern.
Fair concern.
And I just really hope that they can get a talented young player in there who can play a lot of snaps next year, because outside of that, and outside of Jalen Waddle, frankly, who I don't think they're going to trade, but it's not completely impossible. Just, they've got to find warm bodies who can catch the ball consistently. And I don't know if they have that at the moment.
Yeah.
I like Malik Washington. Are you counting on him as a wide receiver too? You can't, in my opinion. So, I don't know.
Yeah, listen, you're going to need to go wide receiver. And I'm curious if you guys think it's a good idea to go round 1 wide receiver. I know Kick says no. Jeff says no. Josh, no. Tyson, no. Wasim, no. Michael Murray, no.
As you said, though, if the best player available on the board is a wide receiver, take him.
Like, I think this is aggressive because, like, it's crazy to say this, but many people have compared Jordan Tyson to Justin Jefferson.
We can pump the brakes there a little bit. I mean, look, I see like the comparison measurables and play style, but
like I said, I think it's aggressive, but it's just worth noting that people have done that.
No, for sure.
You look at some other comparisons for this wide receiver room. I've seen people compare Carnell Tate to Nico Collins.
Ooh, I can see that.
So you look at some of these comparisons, and obviously they're not going to be 100%, and it's very likely out of Lemon, Tate, Tyson, one of the three will be a bad, below-average wide receiver.
Right.
Because even with high-level wide receiver prospects, one of them always disappoints.
It's just how it is.
It just is how it is. But I've seen Tyson compared to Justin Jefferson. I've seen Carnell Tate, Nico Collins, like I said. I've seen people compare Mekhi Lemon to Doug Baldwin. Even Amon-Ra, some comparisons. Like, if I could tell you, even with the wide receiver position not being as big as a need as offensive line, defensive line, secondary, if I told you were getting a Nico Collins, a Justin Jefferson, and Amon-Ra St. Brown-esque wide receiver, like, I think everybody would say, yeah, I don't care. Give me that guy.
Absolutely. And look, maybe that's what the Dolphins are looking for, the next game-changer wide receiver. But you don't necessarily have to shoot for the stars in round one. Like you mentioned, Zachariah Branch could be a day 2 pick that I think could be an electrifying NFL player. Like,
yeah, I agree. Now, listen, I will make this abundantly clear. Malik Washington is not stopping who I'm drafting.
No, of course.
But you do wonder, is Branch even a player Miami's going to be interested in, considering his skill set is pretty much the same as Malik Washington, undersized, slot wide receiver that's electric with the ball in his hands. Like, that's Malik Washington.
No,
now,
same profile.
Can Branch be better? Yeah, absolutely. Branch is going to be a day 2 pick. Malik Washington was a 6th-round pick. So, like, Malik Washington isn't stopping anything. But you do wonder if they're drafting one just because they already have Malik Washington on their roster, would they look for a different skill set at wide receiver in round 2 and round 3?
Yeah, absolutely. I think either way, if you are using a day 1 or 2 pick on a receiver, you're going to get a good player. Like, if you end up with Omar Cooper, if you end up with a Jacoby Lane or a Jeremy Bernard, like, you're going to find a good wide receiver there, and hopefully someone that can contribute to the team.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody's going to hit. I mean, that's for sure. But, like, we've seen a lot of second-round wide receivers not pan out. Jalen Polk with New England from Washington. We've seen it with Tyquan Thorne in New England as well.
Now, I'll say this again as one of the round 3 targets, Brennan Thompson, absolute speedster out of Mississippi State. Former Texas Longhorn, former Oklahoma Sooner as well. He's a track star as well. So, like, yes, he's similar to Malik Washington, but I think you can always use speed in your wide receiver room. And when you have a guy like that who's running a sub 4.4.
Yeah.
So.
I also want to re-emphasize a quick quote before we move on that Jon-Eric Sullivan shared in a presser, right? What did he say when he talks about building his team? Speed is good, but speed in the cold slows down.
I didn't even see him say that.
I want to. Well, let me find the real full quote.
I like that.
I want to find the real full quote. Jon-Eric Sullivan.
It's like you need a stronger arm in the cold to cut through the wind.
Speed slows down, but something doesn't slow down. It's like size. I want to get their exact quote. Someone's got to have it, right? Come on.
I would imagine.
I remember seeing it all the time. I just want to see the exact line.
I'll say, in the limited time that I've listened to Jon-Eric Sullivan in his press conferences, he wins me over in pressers.
Oh, the way that... Oh, here it is. Because he was asked about the Dolphins struggling in bad weather conditions, cold. He goes, our division runs through Buffalo and New England and New York, cold weather places. There's a saying in our business, fast gets slow, but big doesn't get small.
Love that.
So finding the balance of size and speed is where we will try to find, and I think that's clear. Look at the three people that Miami signed to futures contracts. They signed Miles Battle,
Zach Kuntz,
Zach Kuntz, and Terrace Marshall Jr. Miles Battle, the corner, 6'3", ran a sub 4.4. Terrace Marshall Jr., 6'2", ran, I think, a 4.42. And then Zach Kuntz, the tight end, is 6'8", 250, ran the 4.5's 40-yard dash, had a perfect 10 RAS score. So I'm not telling you, early on, Sully has not just talked the talk, but he has walked the walk by adding some players that have size and speed. You see it here. These three guys all having a 9.5 RAS or higher.
A 10!
At a 6'2", 6'3", and 6'8" height. So, yeah. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting, Mr. Coop.
A lot of work for Sully to do still. But I will say, the first 6 weeks, 6? Yeah, that sounds about right. Maybe 7 weeks of the Jon-Eric Sullivan era, I've liked. I've enjoyed. I think he knows what he wants to do.
Correct. Now
Can
he's
he do
got
it?
to execute.
Can he do it?
All right, one segment down. Let's move into segment number 2, which will be talking about Bradley Chubb replacements. We just went in depth on about, 15, 20 wide receivers. I guess 5, and we didn't go in depth, but we mentioned 5 free agents. We mentioned about 8, 6, 17 draft guys in the first 3 rounds. We're going to do kind of the same thing here at Edge because Edge is a big need as well. Love the Lance kid. A lot of people are big fans of me bringing up Bryce Lance as a wide receiver target for the Miami Dolphins in round 3. So, interesting there. All right, let's get into it. Mr. Coop. Miami made a lot of changes to the roster earlier this week. They obviously released Tyreek Hill, James Daniels, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, but they also released Bradley Chubb. And this roster already needed an edge. And with $10.5 million in cap space now, after all of these releases, Miami can spend a little bit in free agency, but not a lot, right? There's still some roster moves to come, but this is how bare the edge depth chart is for Miami right now. Chop Robinson is the only player on a standard guaranteed NFL contract entering his 3rd year of his 5-year rookie contract. Obviously, that 5th year is a team option, but Alex Huntley and Derek McClendon have futures/reserves contract. That's who surrounds Chop Robinson. And I've said this a couple times in the past, but quarterback is obviously the biggest position in all of sports, let alone the NFL. It's a major need because Miami doesn't have a guy at the trigger that they trust. But if you look pound for pound in terms of what positions matter, as well as what Miami needs, I think edge is the biggest need. Yeah, quarterback is more important than edge, but I would argue in this day and age, if you power rank positional needs, quarterback is 1, offensive line is 2, and then edge is right there at 3. And considering what Miami has in their edge room right now, with how important the position is, I do think this is the biggest need for the Miami Dolphins. So they're going to have to address it in both free agency and the NFL draft. And we'll start with some intriguing free agent targets for Miami. Number 1 is going to be Kingsley Enagbari, a Green Bay Packer that knows Jeff Hafley's system that we're going to talk more about here in a second. But go give me a follow over on Twitter because we have more Dolphins coverage over there. 79 followers away from 2,900, and then we'll be 100 away from 3 racks. But anytime the Dolphins make a move, we have you covered on Twitter before we go on the channel to make a video. We've talked a lot about Kingsley Enagbari. He has 11.5 career sacks. He was drafted in the 5th round in 2022 by this Packers front office that obviously included the new GM in Miami and Jon-Eric Sullivan. Enagbari's been a number 3, number 4 edge rusher for his entire career, behind Rashawn Gary, behind Lucas Van Ness, behind Micah Parsons. So maybe, just maybe, in an expanded role in Miami, he'd be able to flourish. But it's obviously a player that knows Hafley's system. Hafley knows him inside and out because he's spent every day with him and over the last 2 years. I just think because he's only going to make $5-6 million in free agency, Enigbari makes a ton of sense for Miami, and I think him joining our squad is probably inevitable. Number 2 is going to be Malcolm Kuntz, the Raiders edge rusher, still in his mid-20s. Kuntz is a fascinating player because he was really good in 2023. Unfortunately, suffers a pretty major injury like Bradley Chubb, cost him his entire 2024 season, and when he returns in 2025, wasn't as good. Now, it could have just been rust. That's certainly plausible and possible, but this guy looked like a budding star in 2023. And the fascinating thing as well is Kuntz has never really had an injury history. It was really that just one freak injury that cost him all of 2024. And because he's still relatively young, he could get $7-8 million on a 2-year contract, so a total of $15-16 million potentially over 2 years. Would Miami be willing to pay that? Not sure, but I'll certainly put him on your radar as a free agent target to monitor. And the final free agent target I want to keep an eye on is A.J. Epineza, the former top 50 pick from the Buffalo Bills. He got off to an interesting start, solid his first couple of years, but really struggled and really was moved down that Bills depth chart the past couple of seasons. He's a bigger guy, 6'6". He's more physical, not going to beat you with speed, but knows the division well and could be a solid third, fourth edge rusher in a rotation with Chop Robinson and some other young guys. Those are 3 free agent edges that I think fit Miami's potential spending range in the open market, but also could be good fits for Jeff Hafley. And drop your favorite edge free agent target. Maybe it's one of those 3. Maybe it's a different name. But let me hear what edge you're eyeing in free agency. And we always talk about how the Dolphins don't have a lot of cap space. They won't go on a spending spree, and they want to build through the draft and supplement through free agency. Well, here's the truth as well, folks. Miami doesn't have a lot on their roster. And yeah, they don't have a lot of cap space, but they only have 8 draft picks. So the question is, how are they going to fill out a 53-man roster with decent talent and decent depth? Well, you're going to have to spend a little bit in free agency to do that. And if they want to do that, I think edge is the one position I'm willing to spend. Whether you want to give out multiple contracts worth $5-6 million AAV or go in on one decently sized edge rusher for $8-9 million AAV, edge is the one position I'm willing to spend on because it's so important and Miami's need at this position is so great. But coming up in just 1 second, we're going to take a look at some edge draft targets in round 1 and potentially on day 2 of the NFL draft as well. Before we get into that, though, St. Patrick's Day just around the corner, and we have officially launched some merch. Really cool stuff here. Get your St. Patty's gear. Rock in the Chat Sports, the Dolphins Today shirts, the Miami drinking teams. They got it in black. We got it in green. Go to chatsports.com/MIA green. That link's in the description and comments of today's video. And I also offer a deal. First time dropping merch, I want to show our bosses that we should do more Dolphins Today merch. Let's get some sales going. First 2 sales that post the receipt of buying a shirt, tag me on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff. You will have a segment of a show sponsored by you. For example, the OG, Brian Aycock, he buys a shirt, tags me on Twitter with the receipt. We're going to have a part of the show sponsored by Brian Aycock. There's an example. Grab yours today before St. Patty's Day. All right. Dolphins hold the 11th pick in the NFL draft right now. Here are the 2 most likely edge rushers Miami could take at that spot. Ruben Bain Jr. from Miami, Florida, and David Bailey from Texas Tech. There's another edge rusher out there, Arvell Reese. He is going to be going in the top 5. He's likely going to go top 2 and be a New York Jet at that 2nd overall spot. I don't really view another edge rusher worth picking at 11. If you traded back from 11 to 18 or 19, then there's some names that we'll briefly talk about here. But at 11, it's Ruben Bain, David Bailey, and that's it. You're either taking one of these 2 at the edge rusher position or you're going in a different position at 11. And both these guys would be great, viable targets for the Dolphins, right? David Bailey was an absolute stud. He's got a blend of speed and strength. Ruben Bain was an absolute wrecking ball for that Miami Hurricane defense that obviously carried Miami all the way to the national championship game. Like, these guys are both phenomenal. These guys both could win Defensive Player of the Year, or Player of the Year. I meant to say Rookie of the Year a year from now, and no one would be surprised. Like, I'll say this. Both of them will not be available at 11. But if one of them is on the board with the 11th overall pick, Miami should waste zero time. Miami's on the clock. One of these two guys is on the board. Picks should be submitted by 9:30. Seriously. Like, you sprint to the podium if either Ruben Bain Jr. or David Bailey are on the board. Would be game-changing guys for Miami at that spot. But I mentioned some other round one edge prospects. Kedrick Falk from Auburn, Cassius Howell from Texas A&M, TJ Parker from Clemson, and Akeem Mesidor, Ruben Bain's teammate from Miami. All four of these guys could go round one. There are some other options as well that could go round one. We'll mention a guy from Missouri, Zion Young, here in a second. But these four are kind of mocked right now to go anywhere between like 16, 17, and 29, 30. So if Miami did trade back and accumulate more picks in the future from 11 to 18 or 19, these four guys all would become in play for Miami in that range. But make sure you subscribe because we will have you covered with 2 Dolphins videos every single day this offseason. Subscribe and join the channel right now. But as we look at some round 2 and day 2 edge targets for the Dolphins, I mentioned Zion Young from Missouri. I've had him go to Miami in, I think, multiple mock drafts we've done. There are some buzz right now about him going late round 1 as well. We'll see how we test at the combine and in his pro days. But we've also talked about Joshua Josephs from Tennessee, LT Overton from Alabama, Romelu Height from Texas Tech's an interesting name, Gabe Jacas from Illinois, R. Mason Thomas from Oklahoma. But if I'm really honing in on 2 guys here to keep an eye on at pick 43, which is what Miami currently has in round 2, subject to trade up or trade down, it is Zion Young from Missouri and Derek Moore from Michigan. Moore, 4-year guy at Michigan. Young transferred to Missouri after a couple years elsewhere. Young's got good size. He was incredibly productive last season. Solid run guy, 9.3% run stop rate to mix and match with his 17.4 pass rush win percent last year. Derek Moore, physical, big guy, performed pretty well at the Senior Bowl, rising his stock here. Like, I'll say this, and I've said it a lot. Thank goodness Miami has 5 picks inside the top 9 because the Dolphins have so many needs and such lack of young talent that if the Dolphins had as little cap space as they do, but also only had like 1 pick in each round, whereas like you only had 3 picks in the top 100, 1 in round 1, round 2, 1 in round 3, that would be a disaster. Like, the saving grace of this offseason is that you're bringing in a new GM and an entire new front office that prioritizes the draft and knows and specializes in that realm. So I do trust this new front office to hopefully nail at least 3 of these 5 picks inside the top 90, assuming Miami doesn't trade back and take less than 5 picks. And let's be real, Miami needs to nail 3 out of the 5. If they nail less than 3, we're in trouble here, folks. All right, I'll do it for this edition of Dolphins Today. Appreciate more people watching every single day. If you want more in the Miami Dolphins, go follow me over on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff. All right, name your favorite edge free agent target. Did anyone give us any options in the chat? It doesn't look like many people get on there.
People are interested in the draft targets.
Zion Young, I see a lot of people. Akeem Mesidor.
I like Mesidor a lot. It does sound like, we don't know this for a fact, but at this point, I'd be pretty surprised if Kingsley Enagbare wasn't wearing a Dolphins uniform.
Yeah, it's not like I know anything. I just am connecting dots.
Exactly.
It's pretty easy to do, but yeah.
gotta hope year 3 Chop, man, as the lead edge rusher on this team, is able to really take a step.
It's funny thing is like the regression from year 1 to year 2 was just so crazy, so
wild.
unexpected. Like he was so good as a rookie. He looked like a promising young guy. Like I remember there being an article last offseason, Coop, that went through every team's best trade assets in projected trade value. ESPN wrote an article and featured Chop Robinson as the best trade asset for the Miami Dolphins. At the time, over Jalen Waddle, over Tyreek Hill, and labeled his value at 2 first-round picks. Because that's how good of a rookie season he had.
You trade Chop
tomorrow. So for him to be as bad as he was in year 2, it was a major disappointment.
You trade Chop tomorrow, are you getting a 5th-round pick?
Oh, Coop, that's ridiculous. You would get, at bare minimum, a 2nd-round pick.
You still think so, even after the disappointment?
I know he would, dude. He's still got... If you traded him today, you still have him under contract for under $10 million for 2 years at bare minimum. You'd have team control for a 3rd year with the 5th-year option, which is about $16, $17 million. 15 might be more based on cap going up and up and over the next couple of years. Like, yeah, absolutely. I would make the argument a team with pick 28 or 27 would send it for Chop Robinson.
No, I would say absolutely not.
Say it's fair because you didn't watch Chop Robinson as a rookie.
I really didn't.
And that's why. Because you only watched him as a sophomore, but NFL teams evaluating will look at Chop's rookie year and be like, all right, we know what he can be. Because you don't lose that after 1 year.
Maybe you do.
No. But I'm not trading him, obviously.
No, you can't trade him. I mean, you have to keep him. And hopefully he can bounce back. Because he definitely is going to be the number 1 edge rusher on this team, unless you're drafting a Ruben Bain with 11.
Unless you get Ruben Bain or David Bailey at 11. I don't see how you add an edge rusher better from day one, unless you get like a guy that's cut. Spoiler alert, we're going to talk about Rashawn Gary. Could be released by the Packers to save money. Maybe Miami brings him over with the familiarity.
Now, and what if let's say you do sign Kingsley Enagbare. What if he ends up being a 10-11 sack guy?
I do not put that in the realm of possibilities.
You don't think so?
I don't think no matter how limited of an opportunity you've gotten as a 3rd edge rusher, I don't put that on the board because if you have 11.5 sacks through 4 years, I don't think you're just coming out of nowhere in year 5 and popping off 10.
Yeah, maybe not.
Maybe I'm wrong. Like Trey Hendrickson, for example, didn't really do what he become like a premier edge rusher until year 5, year 6 in the league. So, I mean, there's different ways.
It's definitely unlikely, for sure.
But, like, that's why I'm definitely in on taking the risk of Enagbare since there's so much familiarity. Like, it is fascinating to look at Trey Hendrickson's career, Coop. 2020 was the year he popped off. As a rookie in New Orleans, 2 sacks. Year 2, 0 sacks. Year 3, 4.5 sacks. And then his final year in New Orleans, he got 13.5. And then ever since then, 2021 and beyond for Cincinnati, 14, 8 sacks, back-to-back 17.5 sack seasons. And then last year, only 4, but missing most of it because of injury. Just very rarely do you see a player break out in year 4, year 5. It usually starts to happen year 2
no doubt.
Into year 3.
Well, and that's why I'm worried that Chop regressed this year.
But that's why, like, I think that I'm not worried about it. If he has a bad year 3, I will be like, okay, this guy's probably a 3rd edge rusher at best in the NFL. If he has a bad year the same year. But if he looks like his rookie version of himself, was like, oh, okay, this guy could be a number 2 edge.
Yeah.
Which is a starter, obviously.
No, definitely.
We'll see. We will see, Coop. There's a lot of dominoes to fall.
A lot of chatter. Free agency, by the way. 3 weeks.
3 weeks away from yesterday.
Unbelievable.
Crazy how offseason works, man. It really is crazy how quickly the offseason moves. You get this, last week, first week after the Super Bowl, have the Super Bowl hangover. It's like, all right, season's over officially in the offseason. This week,
we already got movement.
Yeah, but let's say for normal teams.
Yeah.
This week, the standard NFL team, probably nothing. And, like, even if you want to say, all right, still nothing, the next week, you know what's next weekend? Next weekend's the Combine.
Yep. Combine begins next Monday.
Players are going to roll in to Indy to start getting tested and, like, measurables and interviews on Monday and Sunday. And then we'll have the obvious, like, the actual testing and drills start, I think, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I know it goes till Saturday, Sunday. Sunday's the offensive lineman. I think the first, like, actual testing is Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Wednesday.
It's usually
Thursday,
always
Friday,
secondary
Saturday.
first, right?
Yes.
It goes secondary on Wednesday. Why do I think it's QBs Thursday and then running backs, wide receivers, tight ends
is Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah.
And then O-line Sunday. And then defensive linemen got to be maybe secondary Wednesday, D-line Thursday.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't. Close enough.
But we'll hear, I'm sure, from Jon-Eric Sullivan at the Combine. I assume Jeff Hafley will be there. I guess we don't know for sure.
Bentley says, fire this guy. This guy divided the fans.
Who, you?
Apparently.
You're dividing the fans?
Bentley, why did I divide the fans?
I hope Rolly doesn't get fired. That means I'm out of a job.
Oh, you'd still be fine.
You think so?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't know what I did to divide the fan base.
Well, Bentley, hope you have a blessed day, man.
What could I have done, Coop?
I don't know. Are you dividing the fans by saying people need to be fired for not doing their job?
Like, if I'd like for him, he's probably just seeking attention. And I hate to give it to him. But I am generally curious on what he thinks I did to divide the fan base.
Yeah, I don't know.
Bentley, I'm going to give you a minute, and then we're going to move into our next segment. I generally want to know what you think I did to divide the fan base. Give me an example of me dividing the fan base.
I don't know how you could divide the fan base.
I don't have enough power to divide a fan
I didn't want to say that. I'm glad you said it. It's like, I love Mr. Rolly to death. I don't think Rolly is single-handedly dividing a fan base.
To be fair, I don't think one fan has the ability to do that.
They don't.
I mean, maybe there's some social media accounts that just like are so aggressive one way or another on a certain topic. Like the Twitter account Elite Marino.
Sure,
The one that's like the biggest Tua hater of all time. Like, okay, like that guy creates divisions in the fan base. But like, I don't do that at all. I don't do that at all.
Oh, well.
Very thirsty today.
I'm a little parched myself.
By the way, Moody Coliseum, they got any concessions there?
Yeah, you know, it's your normal concessions. They're not bad. You know, the popcorn, nachos, hot dogs.
Yeah, just me and
that sort.
Me and Morg's not going to have a lot of options to get food beforehand.
Yeah. You could go to, like, Barley House after or something.
I don't think she'd want to wait till 8, and we're going to go home right after because she likes to go to bed early. So I guess we'll have to get there. Well, Bentley, unfortunately, couldn't give me an example of me dividing the fan base. I was really intrigued. He said I gave up on the team. Yeah, when they're bad, I'm going to say they're bad. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not going to be one of those people that's a shill. I'm not going to be a shill and say everything's all right when it's not.
You're never a shill.
Not my guy. It's not my guy. It's not who I am. Oh, there's one. Being vocal about Tua. So I divide the fan base by saying he's
bad
washed
and needs
and
to
cooked,
go.
And the rest of the league agrees, and they're going to release him. But that's my fault.
The Dolphins agree.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It is what it is.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about someone who could be the Dolphins QB.
Yeah, next up on the show, Malik Willis. Is he going to be a Dolphin? By the way, this is a clean-ass edit that we're about to show. Yeah, I made it. Yeah. Got me there. All right, let's do it. I am going to deem this Miami Dolphins offseason the offseason of Malik Willis. We've had this in the past with Deshaun Watson 4 or 5 years ago, but this offseason, it's all about Malik Willis because everybody and their mom wants to connect the dots of Jeff Hafley, Jon-Eric Sullivan in Miami, from Green Bay, and just assume Malik Willis is going to follow because ESPN in their glory, put out a top 50 free agent list and best fit for each individual. And for Malik Willis, who was their 17th free agent, by the way, ranked out of the top 50, going to the Miami Dolphins. And I really want to pose this question. Is this connection between Willis and Miami something that these insiders have heard? Like, oh, we've heard that the Dolphins' number one plan this offseason is to sign Malik Willis in free agency. Is that what they've heard, and it's why everybody's connecting these two and reporting it? Or is the people out there just going like us and saying, oh, they worked together in Green Bay, they're obviously going to go work together in Miami since the Dolphins need a quarterback? I just want to know which one that is. But nonetheless, we move on. And I want to make sure you guys are subscribed, because I was looking at the YouTube analytics, and 43.1% of our viewers in the last 28 days not subscribed. Daily content. No reason to not be subscribed. Lock us in. All right, let's look at what ESPN Matt Bowen said connecting Willis to Miami. With new leadership, the club could move on, will, from Tua Tagovailoa. New coach Jeff Hafley and Jon-Eric Sullivan know Willis well from their shared time in Green Bay, and Willis could slot in as the new starter under coordinator Bobby Slowick. Let's envision a scheme built around motion, movement, with play-action elements woven in. That would set up Willis as a thrower well, and the quarterback run game would generate conflict for opposing defenses. Willis's development in Green Bay creates upside for the Dolphins. And maybe this doesn't happen. Maybe it does. I'll say this. It's starting to feel inevitable. Like, used to see so many different publications, insiders, reporters mention Malik Willis in Miami. You start to believe, all right, is he already wearing the aqua and orange? Does he already have a locker room in South Beach? Like, that's where we're standing. It almost feels as inevitable as Miami picking one of Jermod McCoy and Mansour Delane in the first round of the NFL draft, because the last 6 mock drafts I've seen has Miami taking one of the 2 corners. Well, that's a different conversation for a different day. Like, here's the God's honest truth when it comes to me and Malik Willis with Miami. I would be intrigued with the Dolphins signing Willis. Hell, I would be very excited to see that notification and have Malik Willis as the new quarterback in Miami. But here's the truth. I don't think the Dolphins should pursue him in free agency this offseason. I am actually going to say no to Malik Willis in Miami, and I'll explain why. His contract won. I don't know if he'll get this deal. It's just a projection from Spotrac. But on their website right now, they are projecting that Willis will get a 2-year, $71.1 million contract in free agency, which obviously comes out to a $35.5 million per season. And some people might say, that's crazy. He's not getting that. I actually agree. I don't think there's a team out there willing to give him $35.5 million per season, considering he started and basically played in 8 games of his career. But the realistic outcome is that he gets the Justin Fields contract, which the Jets gave to the free agent quarterback last offseason, right? It was 2 years, $45 million, 22 a season, with not a ton of guarantees in year 2. I'll be clearly honest with you guys. I don't even want that. And yeah, you can backload the contract to make the cap hit higher in 2027 when you have over $100 million in cap space compared to this offseason where you have no cap space. But just think about where the Dolphins roster is right now. Would signing a quarterback at $20 million really help this organization? Or would it actually hurt it a little bit? Chew on that while we talk more about this. But still want to sign Malik Willis? Are you unfazed with my process of not wanting to sign him? Type S for sign or type P for pass. Let me know your thoughts. I just have a ton of hesitations with Malik Willis because the limited sample size is just so scary to me. Like, yeah, he's been in the league for 4 years. He started in about 7 games. He's played in 8 full games, if you count this game that he came in the first quarter with the Packers against Chicago and lit it up. And yeah, the numbers are solid in the 8 career games, right? 68% completion percentage, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He added in some yards on the ground, but like, I know it goes back to his rookie season this year and last year, but if you doubled that, right, and that was a full year worth of statistics, which obviously isn't an exact science, it's not like it's the best season for a quarterback, only totaling about 2,900 yards from run on the ground and through the air and only about 18 total touchdowns. Like, that's not great stuff. And yeah, his quarterback efficiency in the 2 games he played in this season was off the charts, literally. I mean, look at the completion percentage over expected and EPA per play added. Malik Willis is in a tier of his own. But like I mentioned consistently, the sample size is concerning to me. 8 career games that he's actually played at least half the snaps in. Are you willing to say after 8 games and 7 quarters of football in 2025, this is a quarterback worth $20+ million per season? I just don't know if I have the ability to take that risk. And maybe, just maybe, I have PTSD and I'm a little bit gun shy because Miami in the last 6 years has given out massive contracts to players they've acquired in free agency, on the trade market, like Ramsey, Chubb, and Tyreek Hill, and it's amounted to nothing. But based off where this roster is now, I just don't know if that is the best thing this office can do in Miami. More coming up, but this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Yeah, the football season is over, but you got basketball, you got hockey, you got baseball on the horizon. And with basketball taking the charge here, every basket, every dunk, every dime is much more exciting on Prize Picks. And you can get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 on Prize Picks right now. So simple to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. They also offer stacks now, meaning you could put the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. If you want to go more on Steph Curry points, 3-pointers, and assists, you can only on Prize Picks. You can also do season long. If you don't like basketball, but you like baseball, you could do a season-long baseball projection right now. I've got more on Corey Seager home runs, more on Wyatt Langford RBI, and less on Jose Altuve hits. It's my 3-player entry. I'm looking at the Texas baseball scene, folks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Another concern I have with signing Malik Willis. This Dolphins team has so many needs. Seriously. Is it worth spending a quarterback and spending $20 million? Coop sucks. He's making me laugh. Any time. You look at the needs for this Dolphins roster as we bring it back in here. Like, yeah, quarterback's the biggest need because positional value just elevates the quarterback position that high. But look at everything here. And yeah, I have it ranked in specific order, like edge, you need right guard with getting rid of James Daniels, you need corners, you need long-term right tackle, right or tight end, wide receiver too. Like, there's so many needs here. And it's not even like, oh, I'm putting nickel corner on there to see if they can upgrade from a guy. No, they legitimately need it. And that's number 9 on the list. So are you able to fill out your roster through the draft and free agency and start to build the foundation of the future by spending big money in free agency to a quarterback like Malik Willis? If it is a no doubt, surefire, I can guarantee, hey, he's going to be here in 8 years because he's that good still, all right, I'd be willing to do it and spend the money. But Malik Willis, as much as an unknown, is drafting a quarterback. Like, I really mean that. Yeah, we've seen Willis play some high-level football this year, and we've seen some flashes in the past on his tape. But there is no guarantee, none, he is going to be a QB1 in the NFL given the full-time opportunity. It is as good as a guess as if you drafted Ty Simpson out of Alabama and started him week 1 this year. Like, I'm pushing the quarterback discussion to 2027. Heck, yeah, I'm going to add a veteran. You have Quinn Ewers, but you can add a veteran like Tanner McKee, Davis Mills, on the trade market potentially. Maybe Anthony Richardson, or in free agency like a Mitch Trubisky, a Sam Howell, a Jake Browning even, who has connections to our QB coach, Hamden, who Miami hired last week at the end of it. But I'm not seriously investing a lot of money because of the potential in this 2027 quarterback draft. And I know a lot of people said the same thing about 2026, but I'm willing to say it's going to be a bit different. 2027's loaded. And I'm not even the biggest Arch Manning guy. Like, people are already saying, we need the march for Arch. I don't want to hear it. People wanted the tank for Tua. Yeah, that didn't work out. But anyway, Dante Moore and Arch Manning returning. Great for next year. Julian Sayin can come out. Lenore Sellers has to come out. Darian Mensah has to come out. I like Mensah a lot. I think he's going to flourish in Miami with that team. And I think Miami could easily win the national championship next season. Brendan Sorsby at Texas Tech is a fan favorite, one of mine. I like Jaden Mayava from USC as well. Like, you just have such good potential in this draft where even if you went 6-11 next year and we're picking 7th, I think you'd be able to find a quarterback at 7 that could be a franchise guy. Like, you do not need the first overall pick next year to get a QB1 for the future. You don't. You can get one at 7. So I'm just a little nervous about investing big time into a quarterback when you don't have a lot of cap space, when you could easily just push it off one more year, use your money that you have in your draft picks this year to build a foundation on the D-line, O-line, in the secondary, build out a more complete roster, and then pounce next year when you have a lot more draft capital and a shit ton of cap space. I'm pushing the quarterback decision off to 2027. Are you exercising patience like me? Is it going to be a miserable 2026? Very high chance. But I'm willing to take in a bad year to get a better foundation for 2027. If you agree with me, type Y. If you don't, type no. But maybe also Quinn Ewers should be given another chance. Like, I am not totally against giving him the opportunity to start week 1 for Miami. Now, was the 3 weeks he played very good? A lot of up and down football. Showed some good moments, showed some really bad moments. I'm not going to act as if this guy is a no-doubt quarterback and very well could be off this roster as we enter the 2027 offseason. But what if he's good? What if he actually elevates this Dolphins offensive roster that won't have a ton of talent on it in his second year with a new offensive play caller and scheme with Bobby Slowick? Now, the question is, how does this new regime evaluate Quinn Ewers? What is the thought internally inside the Dolphins building for Jeff Hafley, Bobby Slowick, and Jon-Eric Sullivan on Quinn Ewers? But if they view his tape in those 3 games as good as some other guys out there, why wouldn't you just roll with them? I don't think that's out of the realm of possibilities for Miami. We'll continue to have you covered all offseason long, so make sure you subscribe and join the channel today. Coop, what are your thoughts?
Multifaceted, I would say. Malik Willis also scares me, especially if you're going to have to give him even the Justin Fields contract, which is probably on the lower end of his projection, if we're going by what Spotrac has to say. If it's more than a 1-year deal, I'm probably out, to be honest, and I would rather just roll with Ewers and another veteran, as you said, a Tanner McKee type that you could trade for. Plus, I would assume, maybe it's dangerous assuming, that they would draft in the 6th or 7th round a quarterback as well.
I am not kidding when I say this. I would be willing to put my life, gun in the head. You could shoot me. I won't be here on April 29th because I will be willing to guarantee the Dolphins draft.
Yeah, I mean, even Jon-Eric Sullivan said in his opening press conference, we are going to draft a quarterback every other year at the minimum.
Yeah, so he said every year, if not every other year, was like the exact verbiage he used.
So.
And you look at Green Bay's history, and they live and die
That's
by
what they do. Yeah.
They literally took Jordan Love when they had Aaron Rodgers still playing at a high level, an MVP level, in the first round. They did the same thing with Aaron Rodgers when they still had Brett Favre.
Yep.
And they drafted so many quarterbacks throughout Aaron Rodgers' tenure. Even in 2023, they took Clayton Tune.
Yep.
When Jordan Love was still the starter. In 2024, they took Clifford from Penn State.
Sean Clifford, yep.
Sean Clifford from Penn State. They didn't take one last year, but they took one in 2023 and 2024. The Packers front office and the way that they teach and they walk the talk, they draft a quarterback every year, if not every other.
It's the model, and it's how it should be.
And so I'm willing to guarantee that a Packers executive in his first year as a GM is at least going to take one.
You got to have as many bullets in the chamber as possible. And you just got to find out if any of these three guys, including Quinn Ewers, including whoever the veteran is, and your draft pick, if any of them can be of use to you over the next couple of seasons, you might as well find out this year because you're not going to be going anywhere anyways.
Like Idleman in the chat says Ewers QB1, Taylon Green QB2,
Sure.
Cam Miller QB3. Like I don't hate it.
That's fine.
If you want to go Ewers, Peyton from North Dakota State, who's been rising upwards,
Cole
and
Payton.
then
Lefty, right?
Yeah, the lefty from North Dakota State, and then Cam Miller QB3. Sure, you want to do a Drew Aller draft? Sure, you want to do.
Oh, if you could end up with one of those project QBs like a Drew Aller or a Taylon Green in the 5th or 6th, I'm in.
Like I said, I don't want this to be misconstrued and changed. If they sign Malik Willis, no matter what the contract is, I might not like the contract. I will be hoping and praying this guy was the next quarterback for Miami the next 10 years. Hoping and praying. But I just think it is better suited for the Dolphins to ultimately wait a year, use the limited cap space you have to fill out some spots in the trenches, in the secondary, and then use your draft capital early to also add to the trenches, the secondary, and then draft a quarterback in the 5th, 7th round, and then also go into 2027 QB battle. Then we can talk about making a draft pick next.
This is not a one-year fix. You are not going to find all the answers to the test this offseason.
Good analogy.
So you got to just, you still want to evaluate quarterbacks and try to find one, but it is not the end of the world if you do not find your franchise QB this season.
Absolutely agree. Cool. Absolutely agree. No more lefties cracks me up. All right, let's get into the final segment on today's show. Adam, completely agree. Completely agree. Get a good quarterback with arm strength, and even if he's super raw and has some real bad moments and you want to say he was bad in college, go ahead. But I will absolutely try to take a swing at quarterback in the day 3 of the NFL draft. And if Drew Aller's out of the league in 2 years, but you took him in the 5th or 6th round, I don't give a shit. Because you took the chance. You took the chance. All right. Let's get this final segment underway, which, by the way, we didn't even address it. A lot of people in the live chat want to wait till 2027 and push off the quarterback. 66% of our live poll, though, says yes on Malik Willis. 440 votes, so a lot of sample size. 66% say yes on Malik Willis, 34% no.
The risk just outweighs the reward for me.
I would agree. And like I said, if you told me right now I'm signing Malik Willis on a 1-year, $12 million contract, like Daniel Jones with Indianapolis, Sam Darnold with Minnesota a couple years ago, yeah, I would then flip my stance and say, absolutely signing Malik Willis for 1 for 12. But I am now operating as if he is going to get a multi-year deal worth at minimum $20 million per season. And that, to me, is where I am firmly out.
I draw the line there. I agree.
Firmly out. Who knows? Spot track projections, they're a good tool to look on current market value and deals in the past, but they're not 100% accurate. And for the sake of the Malik Willis crowd, let's hope it's not accurate.
There's just
and they're
no
way
way,
overpricing.
right?
Dude, if a team with a lot of cap space, like,
I just can't imagine him getting 35 a season, but maybe. I mean,
like, I'm not saying they're going to do it, but what if the Raiders traded down from 1 because their roster needs a lot, gets a massive haul, like a future draft pick, like a Bears Bryce Young deal, right? And then signs Malik Willis because they have $100 million in cap space.
Right.
Gives up on Mendoza, gets Malik Willis in free agency, and then just drafts a shit ton of players inside the top 50 because they have a bunch of picks.
I was talking to one of our draft experts here at Chat Sports, Mr. Jack Sperry, and he said if he was the GM of the Raiders, he would trade the pick.
Really?
Yep.
He's not a Mendoza guy?
He said he likes Mendoza, but doesn't think he'll thrive in that system.
I also I've been a big Mendoza guy. We've talked about him on the channel. I don't think he's going to be an elite level guy.
No, I don't either. But as you mentioned, the Raiders also have so many holes that they could use the haul of picks. I don't know.
I think like Mendoza at pick, like honestly where Miami's picking, to me makes a lot of sense.
Would you trade up for him?
No.
I wouldn't either.
Like Mendoza, like he excels in preparation, being prepared, and when he's got a perfect climate in terms of pocket, not a lot of pressure,
which he did in Indiana,
will dice you up.
Yeah.
But when things break down because of his mechanics, I was watching a video on it and watching some of his tape. Like when he rolls to his left, dude, he like can't throw.
Really?
Yeah. Like the way he throws, like he just doesn't have a super elastic arm.
Mm-hmm.
It's very tight, very like in here. So when he's rolling to his left, it's hard for him to generate a lot of power because of his throwing motion.
Mm-hmm.
He really only throws on the run, moving to his right. And when he's got people like around him, sure he can quick release, get it off because of that quick, tight throwing motion. But it's not like he could change arm angles and deliver it in a different way if need be. So I like Mendoza a lot. I just think he's not going to be a transcendent superstar level quarterback that you want to have at number 1, like a Caleb Williams, a Trevor Lawrence, who they might not be those guys, but they have the tool set to.
No doubt. It would be a great story though, Mendoza, the 305.
Yeah, it would be very cool.
Don't see it happening though.
Hot dog, I'm going to disagree with you there, and then we're going to move on. It is not the worst of all time. There was a quarterback draft class headlined by Kenny Pickett. There will never be anything worse than that. And that's the truth. Like you could say after Mendoza, it's worse, and I would agree with you there, but the first quarterback in 2022 was the 21st pick, and it was Kenny Pickett, who's horrid. This draft class has a number 1 pick quarterback, so automatically puts that ahead of that. So I'm going to disagree with you pretty heavily there. But nonetheless, Coop, let's get into the final segment on today's live show. New free agent targets for the Miami Dolphins. I am going to look at 5 players who could get cut elsewhere in the NFL that Miami could sign. The Dolphins this week already released 4 players of their own. James Daniels, Tyreek Hill, Nic Westbrook-Ikhine, Bradley Chubb. Other teams are going to release players to save money, and they'll be available on the free agent market. Could Miami sign a couple of them? Let's talk about it. But before we get into today's show, we got challenged by the Jets report of all channels. They got 582 likes. They said we couldn't beat it. Hit that thumbs up icon. Let's smash the Jets like we always do on the football field. Brian Aycock, I need you leading the charge. All right, the first target let's talk about. That would be Rashawn Gary, the current Green Bay Packers edge. That could change, though. Following Hafley to South Beach? Maybe. The Athletic, in their cut candidate article, said that Gary could ultimately get released because he has a base salary of $18 million, and he basically went MIA in the second half of the season, not really playing at a high level. It would free up to $11 million in cap space for Green Bay. And obviously, if he does get released, there's an obvious connection between Gary and Miami because he played under Jeff Hafley the last couple of seasons in Green Bay. former first-round pick, 6'5", really big player, really physical, 7.5 sacks last season, and he's not that old. He's only 28, so it's not like he's 30, 31, where there's no reason to bring him in. Now, he absolutely has been declining. You look at Rashawn Gary's pass rush win rate over the last 4 seasons, it has quite literally gone down year after year after year. He was a dominant pass rusher early on in the 2020s, 17.3 pass rush win rate in 2022, and all the way down to 11.9% this past season in 2025. Even with him slightly declining, because of Miami desperately needing edge rushers, edge is a need that is crazy. You only have Chop Robinson, Alex Huntley, and Derek McClendon on the roster right now. If Gary's available and he's going to sign for cheap because he's going to make a lot of money from Green Bay regardless, maybe he could join Miami on a 1-year, $7 million deal to try to rehab his value. Certainly an option for me and one that I would target. Ezra Cleveland is a name to keep an eye on as well, the starting left guard for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Miami's need at guard grew exponentially after releasing James Daniels, as well as having Jonas Avignaya, who was the worst guard in football last season. But The Athletic named Cleveland as a candidate because Jacksonville's $11 million over the cap, and they'll need to get creative to become cap compliant. Cleveland is a player they could save the most money on by only getting $4 million in return, but maybe, just maybe, they ultimately don't want to release him because he was their starting left guard a year ago, and they could find different ways to ultimately make it as well because they could restructure contracts, they could release other players, but Cleveland was good last season for Jacksonville, right? Like, you look at his PFF grades here, played over 1,100 snaps, 70 grade when you round up, 71 pass block, only allowed 4 sacks, 26 pressures. Like, Cleveland could be a starting guard for Miami and not only be a starting guard if he's actually on the market, but be someone you build with. Cleveland is only 27 years old. So, yeah, if he gets cut, you could sign him to a multi-year deal, and if you view him as a good scheme fit, then guess what? You have a starting left guard or right guard. Now, he has exclusively played left guard across his time in Minnesota and Jacksonville since 2021, but as a rookie, he did play some right guard. You could move Jonas Avignaya potentially from left guard to right guard, a position he played at Arizona in college. Remember, he played mostly right tackle, left tackle, and right guard in college. Move him over there and have Cleveland slot in at left guard potentially, and that's how you address James Daniels being gone off this roster. Cleveland's a name I want Dolphins fans to monitor. Another one at edge, Bryce Huff, the former New York Jet, former Philadelphia Eagle, and potentially former San Francisco 49er. The Athletic said that, like DeMarcus Robinson, 2025 acquisitions who didn't live up to expectations, Huff, who's due to earn $17 million, finished with just 4 sacks and none after Week 7. It's possible the team approaches Huff about restructuring his contract instead of releasing him, but some sort of change with Bryce Huff's contract is coming in some regard. And we're going to talk about Huff as a player here in a second, but today's show is brought to you by Marsmen. And fellas, is there a time when you feel like you're losing it? Same workouts, same diet, but you feel like you're moving through the mud? Well, guess what? Marsmen is designed to help free locked testosterone so your body can actually use it. No synthetics, no needles, just real ingredients that help optimize energy, focus, and strength, supports healthy T levels, energy, and stamina. And I've got a bottle in studio today. It's sleek, it's really easy to take, and it just automatically helps you feel the difference. There are so many men who feel the difference. 91% of users report higher energy levels, with thousands of guys feeling incredible results. Just check out the reviews on the website if you don't believe me to see for yourself. And for a limited time, our listeners get 50% off for life, plus free shipping and 3 free gifts at mengotomars.com. It's a perfect way to kick off the new year strong. That's mengotomars.com for 50% off and 3 free gifts at checkout. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please, it helps us out a ton. Support our show and tell them we sent you to their website. Back to Bryce Huff here, who maybe needs some more energy levels himself after a couple down seasons in the NFL. 4 sacks this past season for the 49ers. He really was tasked with headlining that edge room after they had so many injuries. I mean, that defensive line group was decimated. Nick Bosa, obviously the headlining guy that got hurt there. And similar to Rashawn Gary, his pass rush win rate, that being Bryce Huff, has decreased every single year. Like, you remember, go back to his early years with the New York Jets, and this guy looked like the next big thing, putting up big-time sack numbers, but also gaudy pass rush win rates at 25 and 23% in 2022 and 2023. Was still good for Philadelphia, won a Super Bowl in 2024 with a 15.2% pass rush win rate. And even though it declined again, I still think Huff is a fascinating guy because he is still relatively young. Like Ezra Cleveland, Bryce Huff is 27 years old. And we looked at Rashawn Gary's numbers. Yeah, his pass rush win rate the past couple of years has been at 12.5% and 11.9%. Even in Bryce Huff's down years, he's still at 15 and 14%. Still 27, maybe not as good as the scheme fit as Rashawn Gary is, but Bryce Huff is an absolute name that if he becomes available, I'm looking to try to go grab in free agency. And speaking of free agency, it's less than 3 weeks away, folks. So make sure you are subscribed. Don't miss a thing. Miami might not be the most aggressive team in March, but when they make a signing, we will have you covered. Subscribe today. We're going to go back to the offensive line here, and that being Ben Powers, the offensive guard from the Denver Broncos. Powers, former big-name guy with the Baltimore Ravens, turns 30 next season, so oldest guy on this list so far. Missed 9 games this past year due to biceps tear, and he's got an $18.1 million cap hit in 2026 for Denver, which is why the Broncos may look to move off of him. They also got some good offensive guard play by their young guy, Alec Palzeski, who filled in for Powers when he was hurt. $12.7 million in savings if they designate him as a post-June 1 release is why Powers could ultimately be on the open market. And even though it was in a very limited amount of time, Powers, he graded out relatively fine. No sacks allowed last season in his basically 600 snaps. He returned, played the last couple of years for Denver, played in the postseason at left guard in the games against the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots. Now, that offensive line in Denver didn't play that well against the Patriots and their interior D-line duo of Milton Williams and Christian Barmore, but Powers at 30 could be a cheap replacement. Coming off of an injury, you might be able to buy low there, and it's not an injury to me that would be that concerning. It's not like it's a lower body injury. It's a bicep injury, which is kind of like a freak injury if you're asking me for the offensive line position. So you bring in Powers for like a 1-year, $5 million deal potentially, and you're able to get a starting level guard for cheap to replace James Daniels at left guard or right guard. And now we might be able to cook with some gas. Powers is the name to keep an eye on. Another offensive lineman to keep an eye on. How about Elgton Jenkins from the Green Bay Packers, a second Packer to make this list. And you almost have to wonder if any Packer gets released in the next 2.5 weeks before free agency, if they would join Miami for a cheap contract. But Jenkins is at a position of need as well. The Athletic saying that he turns 30 in December, just like Ben Powers, coming off a significant Week 10 injury, the end of the season, lower leg fracture, so maybe isn't ready for the start of next season, but he played pretty well switching from left guard to center, and with his cap being so high, Green Bay saving 19.5 if they release him, obviously might not be ready for Week 1 next year. Could the Dolphins perfectly buy low here? Like, I don't think it's a crazy thing to say. In 540 snaps, just allowed 2 sacks, graded out really high in the pass block game. Like, I'm not going to try to say that this is going to be an unbelievable move and he'll be able to start week 1 for Miami because of that lower leg injury. But on the flip side, because of that lower leg injury, you might be able to sign him for like 1 year, $3 million, get him in your building, rehab, familiarity with Jon-Eric Sullivan and some of those assistant coaches in Green Bay that followed Hafley to Miami, and rehabs here, lives in South Beach, and maybe he's a starter when he comes back being healthy. He's been very versatile in his long career, mostly left guard, but played center last season, has experience at left tackle and right tackle. If he's healthy and you like him, you can play him at left guard, you can play him at right guard. Certainly not my number 1 guy on this list of 5, but considering how cheap he would be to sign because of that injury if he's released, I had to put him on the list. But let me know. We talked about 5 players. Ellen Jenkins, Ben Powers, Bryce Huff, Ezra Cleveland, Rashawn Gary. Who is your favorite potential free agent target that we talked about on today's show? Let me know your thoughts. Number 1 would be Ezra Cleveland for me. I mean, a 27-year-old average to above average starting guard. That would be incredible. But Bryce Huff is another name I would be intrigued with. Like I mentioned, he's only 27, still posted a 14% pass rush win rate last season, even though he only finished with 4.5 sacks. Miami just desperately needs an edge rusher. I think Bryce Huff could be a really good investment on a multi-year contract. Like, if his stock's in the gutter, you get Bryce Huff on a 2-year, $12 million deal. I mean, that would be a pretty good contract for Miami. Can't lie. I'd be all in on that. And if you want more on the Dolphins, make sure you do subscribe to the channel, folks. We're bringing you 2 videos every single day. Like this episode, subscribe, and join the channel. Woo!
And that's a live show.
And that is a live show. That is a live show.
Interesting that there were 3 offensive guards on that list. I guess they do need a starting right guard now, with James Daniels gone. And you have to also ask the question is, how short is the leash on Jonah?
Yeah.
Like, what if he really struggles in the first 3 weeks of the season next year?
If he's bad,
Do
I
they
think
pull
you
the
just
plug?
You got to start the bench him.
Yeah. Which you don't want to do, but you might have to.
Yeah, really. All right. If no super chats come in, we'll sign off here and end today's live show. Long stream, hour 40. It's fun. A lot to talk about.
Enjoy your college hoops tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to the SMU Louisville game.
Boopy. Nicholas says, is there a way we can pay Malik Willis and give him targets to get him a better deal in year 2?
I think it's more of like putting the contract down.
Oh, targets to hit. I see.
Future Heat Michael Brown. Boy, if the Heat somehow land Michael Brown, I'd be thrilled. I think he goes in the top 10, so I don't really think Miami has a chance. But
you have to move on Hero, first of all.
Yeah.
Maybe the Heat will tank the rest of the year and they'll end up with a lottery pick.
Even if they did, I think it would be 12 or 13.
Crazier things have happened.
Yeah, your fucking bullshit last year should have been the Heat's pick.
Oh, no, we deserved it.
No, you didn't.
Oh, absolutely. After everything we went through?
There's no such thing as deserved in the NBA.
That was deserved.
No.
Mavericks fans deserved that.
No such thing as deserved. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. John, I see your comment about Sam Howell. I'm in signing him on a 1-year deal. Maybe that's because I'm a North Carolina fan. I'll always hold a special place in my heart for Sam Howell. Shout out Sam. But Sam Howell versus Quinn Ewers QB battle. I'm in August. August might be the best month of the year.
No doubt.
Channel. Me and Coop would be fist fighting every game.
We would.
Who was better?
Physically assaulting.
All right, I'll do it for today's stream. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. For Coop, Rolly, we'll see you live again next week. We'll have videos out every day, twice a day, the rest of the week. Peace out.